What you gonna do? You gonna come closer? You gonna stare forever? Do you wanna get to know me? Get your confidence up. 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 Get your confidence up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sandy Hernandez, founder of The Retail Muse and your host of Store Wars. Welcome to our live premiere. Shout out to those joining on YouTube and LinkedIn. I hope it's live. This is my brand new show where retail rivals will face off in a no-holds-barred scorecard showdown. Each battle takes a different form. Sometimes it's brand versus brand, expert versus expert, or finding like the best shop on iconic streets. So today's episode, we're going to be focused on two athleisure cult brands. This is Store Wars. Welcome, everyone. So when I was thinking about the concept, I knew I didn't want to do it alone, and I wanted to have different guests on, and I couldn't think of anyone better than my first guest who's joining me on today's episode. He is my good friend and retail expert, Jack Stratten. So he heads up Insider Trends, which is a retail trends, hosting safaris across the world. We've done a couple here, and I've also attended some that he's done in Chicago. And in every city we're in, we end up, scouting different stores together, checking out new openings. You'll have some, glimpse of us here in New York. And he's an in-demand speaker. Does a lot of stuff in Scandinavia, and he's also when he's not in stores, he's here. We were here at Gibson, and he's able to play guitar as well. So welcome, Jack. So hopefully I did you justice. Sorry.
More than justice. I mean, I'm a poor guitarist.
No.
So I'm thrilled that you managed to capture that. Yeah, no, captured it perfectly. And it's nice seeing those images. We exclusively hang out outside amazing flagship stores in the world's most exciting city. Like, I've never really ever seen you anywhere boring. That's next thing we have to do.
Yes. Well, we'll see. It's always definitely London, New York, Chicago, definitely on the list.
Yeah.
But I thank you so much for being, the first guest. And so we met up, I guess, in April, right, in London, and we started filming this episode and having to think about what it could be. So a lot of what you're going to see today is from April, but it's still highly relevant. But I thought before we jump into kind of what's happening on Regent Street, what's happening with Gymshark and On Running, I wanted to get into the competitive spirit, competitive mood, and start off with a little game called like retail rivals rapid fire. So I'm going to give you a couple of brands that are notoriously rivals, and just gut instinct, tell me, who you prefer, whether it's like personal or professional, just your gut instinct. And I'm going to say we'll do as many as we can in 1 minute. So I'm going to start the timer. I have a few for you. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Coke versus Pepsi.
Or Coke.
H&M versus Zara.
Ooh, H&M.
Okay. Selfridges versus Harrods.
Selfridges.
Glossier versus Rare Beauty, which just had a pop-up in Carnaby.
Glossier.
Oh yeah, I know it's your favorite. Lush versus Rituals.
I'm going to say Rituals to spite Ian Scott.
Target versus Walmart.
Target.
Yeah. Wegmans versus Trader Joe's.
Oh, Trader Joe's.
Okay. Rafa versus Tracksmith.
Oh, no, I love them both. Rafa, because they were the pioneer of that
Okay.
thing.
New York City versus London.
Oh my goodness.
One
I'm
more.
going
We
to
have
say
one
New
more.
York just because it's oh yeah, New York.
Okay, we have one more. I'm gonna do it because it's we need to.
Yeah, please.
Oxford Street versus Regent Street.
Regent Street.
Okay, perfect. Because that brings us to Regent Street, where we are
amazing.
and where we met in April to begin, our athleisure leisurely walk through Regent Street. And what's funny about this street is that obviously it's changed over time, but it's continued to morph as we've seen, kind of traditional retailers depart, and it's kind of a musical chairs of these new like cult brands entering and using that opportunity to be on this prime, traditionally tourist, destination. So how have you seen, it evolve? And I can see right now, if you can see in the back, you can see On right there and Gymshark on the left side. But how have you seen it evolve since you grew up in the UK? I'm sure it's changed over the years.
It really has. I think that Regent Street, primarily, if you said to someone who didn't know it, they would just think of Hamleys and, Hamleys at Christmas or nipping down Regent Street for some kind of touristy flagship thing. And then it feels like just before and just after COVID, Regent Street really picked up momentum where Oxford Street didn't, actually. Oxford Street slightly stagnated, and a lot of really interesting, exciting, progressive brands turned up on Regent Street. And the biggest thing, to the point you just made, is I think we've seen, fewer just kind of fairly generic traditional retailers and new progressive ones coming along, especially in the athleisure. I think I prefer athleisure. Athleisure sounds weird in a British accent, doesn't it? I'll say it in American. Yes. Athleisure. So that is the first and last time I do an American accent. So
it's so spot on.
Gymshark. Oh, thank you very much. Gymshark, On Running, Aloe. All pretty new additions, but big, bold flagships.
And
On the
Skims
street.
is coming soon next year.
Skims is coming, and Fanatics at the bottom of Regent Street, which is extraordinary. Which is the American collectibles company have a massive flagship down there. Uniqlo have an amazing flagship at the bottom of Regent Street, which has a beautiful sustainability focused basement. There's so much stuff going on there now that I think are really interesting. The kind of places that I would take retailers on a tour for inspiration. And I think maybe 10 years ago Regent Street wouldn't always have been top of my list, but now there'll always be stores that I'm looking at. There's real energy and momentum on this street.
It should be interesting next year once Skims is open, to see it, because it really is a collection of it is tapping into this trend, right? I mean, that was accelerated during the pandemic of athleisure wear taking over in terms of attire. So I think it's only going to grow, and also like the way niches are being carved out to reach different segments, which is
totally
these two brands. So when we did our kind of scouting and testing, we took on a persona and did a mission. So when we visited On and Gymshark, our mission was a fitness newbie and really new to the brand. So that was kind of like the lens that we viewed both stores. So for those listening, that's kind of like the mindset we're in when we were evaluating these stores. And we're going to take a look at it from different angles, all the way from like first impressions to the store design to the staff and tech. And we'll see how much we can get to, because I know we only have an hour. We could probably spend like 5 hours really digging into each of these stores and their strategies, but we'll focus just on the flagships because obviously they have a broader retail strategy. So that's just the context of how we're going to kick off our discussion. And I just wanted to shout out a couple of people I see. Hi, Chris, Audra, Steve, there, Paris calling. Nice.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, thanks. And hi from Brussels, Elisa. Nice. Oh, look at all these people. Fantastic. So hello, everyone. Welcome. And now we're going to get into it. So let's see. One of the very first is so I think a first impression, obviously, which the store, the exterior, the store windows, and the entry point. So what for you, like, what makes a good first impression, and especially when you're scouting stores and thinking about what to include, like what is essential for like a good first impression for a retailer?
I think, it can vary a bit, on location or brand, but I think at a very kind of broad level, it's just about, especially in this saturated retail world, grabbing attention. I really think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Some people will say actually it's about maybe very quickly educating the customer on what you do and why you do it. But I would kind of go, actually, before even that, it's just to start with, just grabbing my attention. That's job number one.
Mm. And what kinds of things? So I guess I look at it too from just a human psychology thing too, like what draws attention. It's kind of like the colors, right? The colors you use that will are distinct. And obviously more storytelling, and how are you thinking about that touch point and in terms of
of course.
Stories?
So it's definitely, you're right. So it's color. I think grabbing attention these days is sometimes, and to be honest, from my experience, quite often trying to take a slightly different approach. So yes, it's color, but it might be trying not to kind of over clutter the entrance and show me one big thing, one big idea, one story. I think that's one kind of pretty consistently powerful method. Tell me or show me one big thing. So I think, some traditional kind of entrances, windows can have too much going on. The other thing is that it's different. So rather than just some mannequins with clothes on or just, a clear vision into the store, it's thinking of the entrance like an advert. And, I can think of lots of brands these days that are really thinking of retail that way. I think Benefit Cosmetics, I've thought about recently, do this a lot and I love it. They think of their windows often so much like an advert, and not really even an advert just for the store, but like an advert for the brand. I think they think of their windows as the same way like someone thinks of an advert in a magazine. So it's just, how can we just shout about something we're doing with big, bold colors, big messaging, lighting, and also show them something they don't expect. So it might not be actually their product. It might be something completely different. So I think once you think about this idea of advertising and marketing, you can maybe get even more creative.
Yeah, because it's also it's the OG analog, but also just how websites and things or ads have evolved, right? How are you getting someone to click physically, or to come inside? So it's interesting to see, and also like who your neighbors are, because how are you like standing out versus what's around you. But here's so let's peek into like what Gymshark did. So obviously they have a prime corner spot. So was it like 22 or 23? 2023, right? They opened up this shop.
Yes, I think 2023.
So it's relatively new and their first flagship. And obviously they're very much all about being a gym brand. So that's like the niche they're carving for themselves. And using really like the flagship to be an extension of their community and like a breeding ground for it. And in terms of this particular flagship, because obviously they have started to like now open up other locations. They have different purposes and very intentionally in London and now New York. But yeah, so this is like their first, foray into real retail, or their own retail. And here were some of like their store windows, and these are a couple that both you and I saw that we liked as well. But one of the things obviously here is the messaging with the We Do Gym. It's kind of like their slogan, marketing, and also just their whole ethos is like, this is who we are and what we're all about. And I absolutely love that they have like the brand story on here, where it just talks about Ben Francis opening up and thinking of the concept in his garage just a few years ago at I think 19 years old or however he was. And it's now grown to be a £1 billion brand. So it's like very inspirational, and like a lot of brands these days around like the founder. So I don't know what you thought about these, because I think you picked these out
same.
too. Yeah,
Totally. So look, We Do Gym is like has become, you know, their kind of simple 3-syllable you know, kind of calling card, the soundbite that's in everyone's head. They put that everywhere. It's really great. I think that they do that. So, you know, and there's some consistency there. They build the whole business around that. It's very clear. It's easy to understand. But yeah, I really love the where it all started thing. And, you know, not that many brands would do that in their window, right? They'll talk about it in different places, but would they stick it right in the window? But it shows that they understand their customers, I think, and their community really, really well, because they know this is a community of people who are really aspirational, and the gym is sort of part of that aspirational persona that a lot of these people have. And, you know, I think Ben Francis, you know, CEOs, founders are always important in businesses, but Ben Francis is particularly important in this one, I think.
Yes.
You know, we'll get to On Running in a minute, but and this is no disrespect to On Running, but I can't remember the name of the person who founded On Running.
Olivier.
So you will, of course, know that.
So it's like researching.
You're a professional, and you remember things, and I'm not, and I don't remember anything. But Ben Francis, but I do think that's the thing. You know, Gymshark is him, and the community loves that, right? That's part of it. So yeah, I think it's really, really great.
Yeah. And then this is the other set too that I thought stood out as well. I don't know if you can read it, but a couple of things. One is that I love that it's kind of speaking to that gym crowd, but also that you understand the pain points of what your customer is looking for. So it's kind of like, what does it say? Running stuff so good, it'll almost make you want to do cardio. So it's kind of like, you know, tapping into like, obviously people are not necessarily motivated and wanting to do cardio, and, you know, and also seeing the things in motion, which I think is pretty cool in the window as well, like seeing how the product is actually going to be used, and mannequins of different, you know, types. So we'll talk about that more from what we'll see inside, but that's also something distinct about them, I think. And then the other thing too is around the other window with the supportive squat proof leggings, kind of again thinking to the pain points of like, I want like leggings that are going to be able to do squats in. So it's kind of speaking directly to the customer and using imagery that is your customer using the product. I don't know. And also their fabrics are kind of like totally on the wall as well.
Yeah, and do you know what? Credit to them for achieving two different things with that supportive squat proof legging line. Is their kind of, and the imagery, it's like partly they're still doing their core brand thing of it feeling community and a bit different. There aren't many brands that use this kind of language quite so confidently, that sound like their customer. But also supportive squat proof legging is like classic smart retail copy, because it's you know, it's kind of benefit led, right? Describing features in a benefit led way, and that kind of copywriting thing, like it's what Nike were always great at. They'd always, in a very brief amount of space, be able to tell you, you know, meaningfully what this particular item gives you, what benefits it gives you, what it does for you, how it makes your life better, whatever. So this isn't just cool community focused stuff. This is smart retail.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just seeing in the chat they're frozen. Let me see. I'm gonna say.
We are frozen, or they are frozen.
We're frozen for them. It says okay. Try refreshing. I'm gonna put that. I don't. Oh, that's someone that's Audra texted you. Well, I guess we'll go on and
Yeah, and hopefully they can get back in. Um, but this is the first episode. It's impossible to to do what you've done here with all of this brilliant production, Sandy, and not have a couple of glitches. This is.
Okay, I'm gonna type that the YouTube, at least maybe they can watch it there. Um, okay, so I put that in the chat in case they can watch if the YouTube is working. If not, I'll put everything on LinkedIn. It's being recorded. So moving on to the exterior for on. So here another, obviously it looks very similar in terms of the exterior, given that they're neighbors and they're on Regent Street. But it's another prime, corner spot, which is obviously ideal. And I'm trying to think if it was before Gymshark or after Gymshark, right? I don't know. On this
Yes,
street.
it was very similar time.
Yeah.
Actually, they were open close to each other.
Yeah. So here, I'm not sure if this is still up, but it was definitely on when we were there in April. And it's all around tied to their campaign of soft wins, which is the campaign I know they had a huge Super Bowl ad, but around the premise of running doesn't have to be hard, both like in from a difficulty standpoint, but also from like being a hard, rough exterior, like taking yourself too seriously. And that's also why they incorporated Elmo in their campaign as well, to be, a bit softer. So it's kind of like what this window is in line with. And it's obviously very attention grabbing with the fluorescent yellow. And also just looks very, furry, fluffy, soft. But the only thing I would say is that the soft part is kind of, unless you're under the awning, you can't really see it. So that's the only thing.
Yeah.
What was your thought on that one?
So my thought, and actually it's been the same thought when I've seen different windows they've had, not just at this store and others, is that I think my first impression with On is always that this is a product focused, product led business. And I think the windows always make me feel the same. The products tend to be the shoes merchandised in a very creative and interesting way. Almost a bit like how a luxury brand will often do this with a luxury item. It will frame, position, merchandise items in a really interesting way with interesting colors, interesting aesthetics that really makes you see the product and elevates your sense of that product, right? Here's the one product sort of staged almost theatrically. On Running do that. They do it really well, actually. And I think it's similar inside the store. But my first impression then is, okay, this is a brand that has an interesting product that's worth taking a look at if I knew nothing about them. And I won't make judgment on it, but it does immediately make me think. Whereas I'm like with Gymshark, I'm immediately thinking a bit more about people.
Yeah.
I think with On Running, I'm thinking about product.
Yeah.
And I mean, that kind of makes sense because I think, that is one of the key differences with these brands, maybe. To me, that's what it says straight away. I'm like, this is about the product.
Yeah. I guess the definitely the product, but also for me, just given the color, I'm getting imagery that ties to tennis, but it's not even about tennis, but just because of the fluorescent color, and then also Federer and his association with the brand. So I don't know if it's kind of confusing to me using that color, but I could see why it was, and also Elmo's red, so I don't know. So it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, but it is attention grabbing. Obviously, it's very bright.
Yeah, you're right about tennis. That's a fair point. Hadn't even occurred to me, but you're right. They do very successful tennis shoe, but this isn't what they're promoting here.
Yeah, I'm trying to, because they keep on saying Frozen. I'm just thinking, can they see my comment about the YouTube link?
I'll ask Audra.
Here, paste. I'm not sure if that's where this is going to. It might be going to YouTube.
Yeah, or could you put the link in the LinkedIn chat? you got the LinkedIn chat open?
Well, I
Maybe I
have
could do that
the
while you carry on.
let me try that. I have to like
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, of
let's
course.
see. All working out the kinks. It's very exciting. Sorry, I'm trying to get like it is. Hold on. Oh my goodness, how do I comment? Hold on, sorry.
Yeah, let's see if we can reconnect. I'm on the LinkedIn thing. So shall I put it in the YouTube, Sandy, or not?
Yeah. Can you see the YouTube?
So shall I put the YouTube
Yeah.
link in the LinkedIn
Yeah,
chat?
if you
Cool.
can.
Let me do that.
For some reason, it's not letting me comment on it on my.
Okay. Bless Audrey,
Okay.
just trying,
Aw.
or just trying to keep
Oh my
everyone
goodness.
in.
Of course, this is like here. Okay, I'll also put that now, I think. All right.
So I put the YouTube link in, but yes, I'm actually logged in and it's just got like this back to the counter at the beginning. Is what I can see
So
for some
weird.
reason.
Okay. Let me put that. Okay. Real time troubleshooting. Okay. Hopefully people can log in. If not, I will share the recording. Okay, so the second store window, we're still on like step one. Oh yeah, so this is just, I think another thing is here that this is actually, I think a screen. So it's kind of, you can see the on, it's again tying to the campaign. I think Elmo's in the advert here too. So it's again using moving imagery to get attention, and in line with the campaign. So I think that worked well for them. So the next piece is the next stage, like once you're actually through and decide, okay, I want to go inside this store, whether it was the window that attracted you or you were just, wanting to go there anyway. And for us, we're newbies in our scenario. So we're entering the space, and kind of that first moment when you enter a store, the entry experience, which I think it's like a third of a second, it is what it takes for you to like instantly have an impression of whether you like this experience or not. So you're kind of like absorbing the information I guess subconsciously as a customer. So what are your thoughts, I guess, when you entered Gymshark? Here's like a little bit of what it looks like when you first, walk in.
So I always think what is impressive and slightly surprising about Gymshark actually is I always think from the outside, and given it's the flagship and the community focus, what you sort of know of the brand. Actually, when you go in, and you can't totally see it from these photos, but this area changes a bit, but there is actually a lot of stock, and I don't necessarily mean that in a critical way. You do immediately see quite a big range and variety of stuff. But from this entry point, what is good is you immediately have, I would say, a feeling of energy and activity, because you've got the Joe and the Juice Cafe on the right, and it's a big one, and it's very kind of fitness led. It's really, really good. You have this kind of activation area to the left. Just in front, you have a kind of gym floor with these very clever pulleys that go up to clear the floor for them to do workouts. And the mannequins as well are really, I think they're 3D printed or something, but they're all very, very interesting, active mannequins. So I do think as soon as you get in, I would say you have a feeling of energy, activity, again, that word, but probably community. The feel as soon as you walk in does fit the feel that you see on the outside and probably the feel that you had online already when you entered, which I think are all positive things.
Yeah. And I think, was this the J. Crew before? Or what was this before? Because it
It's a
definitely,
good question.
yeah,
I
I
can't
think it
remember what
might
it was
have been,
before.
because it's taken on a whole different vibe, like with the
Yeah.
warehousey, gym exposed, you could see the ceiling rafters and the ceilings, and then all the neon lights and things are, reminiscent of gym kind of vibe. So I think it's totally in line with their brand identity. I guess in both cases, I think they each, well, I guess we'll talk about that but I think here there was also a security guard, but I don't think it was as like off-putting as other places when you're entering the space, because I think that's a part of that first moment too. I think the high ceilings are also something that is very good about that first moment, because you feel like very open, and all the different like places you could explore, clear signage like the men's and fit room upstairs, that you can kind of, okay, this is where I should go if I'm going to men's area, and obviously clearly the women's are on the ground floor. So I think all of that is like very well done. Trying to think of anything else.
Absolutely.
The sound, the music, obviously the vibe and the energy. It was louder there than on. But it's in line with kind of the vibe.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it does. And I think that's if there was one word that I felt when I walked in, it's like you do feel the energy quite quickly. Yes, and that's kind of through, there's another entrance further into the store, but I would say you feel it there as well, because you see the kind of exercise room at the back. So
Yeah.
immediate kind of feeling is probably exactly what they want you to feel.
Yeah. And then here in contrast, or like a different one, this is the first thing you see when you're in on. So this is a robot. It's a robotic shoe, or a foot, I guess, that makes it look like you're running, which is in line with I think their intention to be more of like a lab and innovation product. Here I am touching the because you just want to feel the fur. The only thing I would say about this, it's kind of mixed messaging in a way for me, because you have the soft campaign, soft winds, but the space itself with a robot, the kind of hard surfaces, metallics, that's trying to be scientific. It doesn't necessarily give off a soft vibe. So and also those colors for me don't really go together. So it's kind of just I think I'm not sure if it goes so well with this setting, but that's just my initial thought.
Yeah, so I'm kind of with you. It's slightly mixed, and also, yeah, and I'm kind of like, I don't know. I was thinking about this. With this robot in particular, like a bit of me initially has got like, that's amazing and kind of cool and interesting, and yeah, it kind of fits their technical aspect. I guess maybe there's something about this kind of strange, alluring, robot arm moving around in this way that hints at the technicality of the product, and the wider kind of brand feel, and I kind of get all of that. So what I tried to do with this space is think, well, it doesn't work for me, but then I'm not a prolific kind of on running customer, and I wonder if I had bought 3 or 4 of their classic kind of success making shoes, and they are super technical and they work amazingly. Do you know what? I probably would quite like this, seeing the new shoe going around on this weird robot arm. It might actually work. So I don't want to dismiss the value of this, because as a kind of brand setter, I think maybe it works well. It doesn't work for me. I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking, why? I mean, I'm not interested in robots, but actually maybe it does do what Gymshark does in the same way. It sets the scene for the brand, the feel, the tone. So, I think perhaps it is quite good.
Yeah, I think the robot by itself, I think it works with what they're trying to do, like that they lead with product innovation, and that's clear that science is involved and studies to kind of optimize the perfect shoe, and that's like who they're targeting. So that's fine. It was just more the contrast of the soft part, but perhaps maybe that's their intention, is to make it a little bit softer, I guess. But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's and then I guess for me too, that this one there is a guard there, but it's kind of for me it was a little bit more off-putting because I like said hi, and kind of they're just kind of bored a little bit. So I think that's also a touch point. So it is important for that piece to be in line with what you want to communicate as a brand as well. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on the security guard?
Yeah. It's, yeah. Well, it's sort of like, yeah, I don't know. I let you. The thing is, I think some of what I'm about to say is probably going to jump into your next category. So I
Oh,
don't
okay,
want to.
okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
If that makes
All
sense,
right.
because I think
Yeah.
sometimes there's a lot in the. I think as well what I'm doing, and I'm trying not to do because I'm thinking of your customer persona, but I'm carrying what I feel and know about these brands into some of those moments, and it
Yeah.
becomes maybe, if that makes sense. But I'm with you about the distinction with On and Gymshark. I know in this sense, in first impressions, what kind of impacts me more. But you have to, you have to be careful to assume, whether others are actually quite into that.
Yeah. All right. So are you ready to
Yes, let's do it. I still
score?
don't know whether people are watching or listening. By the way, it's
I'm
hard to
not sure
work out what's going
either. I'm not sure.
on
I
because I
think
can't check YouTube.
I know. Well, on YouTube, you have to be signed in to. I see there are people there because I see
Oh, nice. Okay.
people watching. So maybe that is working.
Well,
It
we
looks like.
good. Okay, and this is I'm the rat that you're testing this
Yeah.
out on. Do you know what I mean? The mouse, right? And if it works on the mouse, then it can work on
Yes.
humans. That's what you got to think, right? So you can.
Yeah,
What is it, me?
in line with ON's scientific studies.
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
and then by the time you get to the humans, it's going to be perfect.
Oh.
I would have.
Is that your score?
It probably is. Do you know what? I often, whenever I'm given score something out of 10, I basically always go 8 because I sort of panic and think, yeah, 8's fair, but it's not like 9. So yeah, I probably would have said 8. Do you mean for first impressions, basically?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
8,
first
I would
impressions
say.
of the store, the window, and then also the entry. That was
Oh
left
yeah,
over. You don't have to say 8 if you don't want to. I'll take it out.
I would maybe have said 9 actually. Do you know what? I'll say 9
Oh,
actually. I think that's fair. Now we've
this
relooked
is
at it. I'm
this
like,
is
no,
for
do you know what?
Gymshark. This
Particularly
is for Gymshark.
yes, for Gymshark. The
Yeah.
windows as well, they're always good. They do such a good job, the VM team. I'm gonna go 9. I like it.
Okay. So for me, I think I'm doing an 8. Well, kind of an 8. Yeah, an 8. And
Yeah,
if I can get my
that's
thing
fair.
to work. Okay. So now let's move on to On. Oh,
So yeah, on first impression for me, I would go 7.
okay.
It's good and it makes sense, positions them well, but like it
This is
for me,
so
it
then
just
we
doesn't.
have to like they're going nuts the scores.
I'll go with whatever number you put up, but yeah, I'm gonna say 7.
Okay. So we'll do a 9 for sorry. I'm doing this like all real time, by the way. This is
No,
like
it's like
fantastic.
incredible that you need to sort of you need to do this one with me because you have to practice doing all the things at
Yeah.
once.
This is
You know,
crazy.
it's
I don't know
like
what.
radio DJs can't do this first time, right? You have to.
No.
It's going to take like 1,000 of these with all that. Yeah, I can barely just talk. I don't have to press anything. I'm just talking.
For On, I probably would say a 7 as well. So I'm glad we just left that anyway. All right. So now let's quickly, because now we're, running into.
Store
So
environment.
we're left with this random 7. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. All right. There we go. Let's just store environment. So we talked
Yeah.
a bit already. I mean, we saw a glimpse into some of it. Anything that stood out for you from what you remember from the Gymshark's store, like the key parts that contribute to, you know, positive design, atmosphere,
Yeah.
and we'll obviously we're gonna touch on the other stuff, the service and all that things later, but more about the design and
Cool.
that part of
So,
store environment.
do you want a number or do you want me to talk about it first?
Talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So I think few key things. I love the two kind of activity rooms. So the workout fitness space downstairs and the lifting space upstairs. I think that's brilliant. I think it sounds obvious, but I mean, very few athleisure gym brands have ever done anything like that. Actually,
Yeah.
just given a proper space. They've designed it properly. It's really great. You won't see this, but if you ever did a fitness class there, they also have really beautiful showers that you can use. The classes are free. So like the commitment to that thing of our community can come in and work out is phenomenal. You know, you see so many little things of athleisure brands having little ideas and cool things and whatever, but this is the real deal. Come and work out, and it's free with Gymshark instructors. Have a shower and go back to your day. I think that's incredible, the way they design that. And that was always my favorite thing about the store. So yeah, and then they have, you know, one-to-one room that they, I think, do really well out of, the personal shopping space, which is great. And some other cool innovations, like I mentioned earlier, but the pulleys that pull product up so that you can so they can clear the space for people to do yoga or other fitness stuff. And you know, they're the key things that come to mind when you come up onto the first floor. It's a lot of product. It probably feels more similar to what some of their future stores will look like, as in regular retailing stores, which is fine. There's nothing remarkable about any of that, but you know, fairly high product density. I do think that because the product colors are always kind of black, grey, navy blue, I think they could do with thinking about how they can cut through that problem of peripheral vision, right? Too much product the same color. It's the problem of like fast fashion, for example. When you have a massive product that's a similar color, it's very, very hard to distinguish between those things. It's just a kind of sea of similarly colored product. So, you know, you've got to try and get a bit creative about how you do that. You know, I think that's something that maybe they could work on a bit on the first floor. But yeah, ground floor, there's a really nice balance between the product and, I would say, the kind of experiential elements.
Yeah. I think overall for me, for this particular store, yeah, and we said it at the beginning, but I think everything about it just is consistent with, I guess, gym culture. And I know we'll get a culture later, but it's so intertwined that it just is all, you know, supporting that kind of customer, and this is like the place to go. It's not intimidating, I would say, even though obviously maybe to do a class it might be, but it's very approachable for a newbie, if that's like the intention, in terms of our mission, to be able to get
and again,
accessible product. It's not accessible price points, and well, it's welcoming. I would say you get that from the mannequins that are in trying to be representative of their customer, and yeah. So I think, and overall, again, the beginning, the whole thing about the energy, that you feel like movement, you know, like the mannequins are moving, the music is loud and pumping throughout the space. So it's kind of like all around movement, and you know, empowering you to be able to go work out. So I think it's all really a good environment. So what would you rate? I'm going to try this again now. Let's see how these rating scores.
Yep. I'm going to go an 8 this time. 8.
Okay. I would say the same. Not to be copying. Okay.
I mean, you are copying. That's what you've done.
Sorry. We're
No,
thinking
no.
alike.
No, 8 is right. 8 is exactly the mark. I'm totally with you.
Okay, so eight's all around for that. And now let's go to what would we think about on store environment?
Yeah, so there's aspects of it I quite liked when I was in there. Again, there's multiple floors. Product density, number of SKUs overall is way lower. There's not much product in there. Most of it was kind of cased around the edge. Lots of steel. I think the kind of technicality of their products. I like what Nicole's put there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally with it. And I think that the technicality is kind of showcased really well in the store, right? And I think the lower stock density helps to do that. You almost have a feeling of this is a luxurious running shoe, tennis shoe, whatever category they're kind of playing in. They're introducing lifestyle a little bit on running. So there were some other clothes. I don't think they've quite figured out how to position that because the clothes were just sort of there. Like the shoes all kind of made sense. And they had that nice area for the tennis shoes, some running shoes, all-round performance shoes, and kind of different levels, sizes. But the clothes, it was hard to navigate because I was like, I don't quite know what these clothes are for or what they're kind of positioned for. But it was a pleasant environment to walk around. And I think if I'm a fan of the product already, I think for people who know On, it was perfect because you go in, it feels slick, you feel that kind of technical product. So I think it works for the brand. As a newbie, I'm not totally convinced that I could have found what I wanted easily. So it wasn't quite doing navigation as good as it could have to a newbie. But I also wonder whether On, to some degree, doesn't worry too much about newbies because this is a bit of a cult brand. But yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I think the store is designed and the environment is designed to be in line with their brand identity. So I think in that sense, they're succeeding. I mean, they are trying to make it look like a scientific lab, which is the result. And I would say, yeah, as you said, the product density is consistent with a more premium product, and they are more premium than what Gymshark is offering in terms of the clothing and apparel. And then they also recently, have collaborations and things, again, trying to be more premium. So I think that's in line with kind of their positioning. And then also they're trying to have a bit of, fun or discovery with the design, with the magic wall, where you can, have products or the shoes that you can try them on, apparently, right, by opening up the drawer and seeing all the sizes there, which is not necessarily apparent to any customer, though, if you're a newbie.
Yeah, exactly. That's hidden. It. I think you've hit that point. Really sums up the store. It is perfect for the vast majority of people who already love them, who go in there. They get what they want. They get what they're looking for. It's not brilliant necessarily for people who don't know much about them.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your verdict for the store for there?
I'm going to go for 7.
Okay. Okay, so I think I'm gonna actually give them an 8 because I think they're doing, what they are intending to do in their space. So that's I think they're doing a good job of that. So I'm doing, so you're 7. Okay. Sorry, I'm doing this at the same exact time.
Don't say sorry. It's like this is, again, it's fine. I can fill if you want. Do you want me to?
Okay. So the next piece we're going to talk about and it's actually perfect that we were already starting to talk about products. So clearly, well, we know we just talked about On, but let's talk about Gymshark. So they have quite a bit of obviously leggings. We saw that in the store window with the stretchy fabric that are meant for squats all around the gym. I think they also, what I love is that they're again trying to make product that's more making more people be comfortable in the gym. So I would say that's like what their intention is, kind of empowering people. You see that in their content as well, all across social media. It's all about like giving that people that boost and extra like encouragement to be able to go and be successful in the gym. And obviously very much like around lifting culture. They have recently, they just had this drop in New York. They had a pop-up, and then also in London with this Onyx, which has been sold out immediately, but they said it was bots. But basically around like more superhero kind of vibe, and kind of treating it as an event, right? To have products. I can look at all these people like lined up and queued up here at the Gymshark store on Regent Street, and it went out. It sold out immediately. Obviously, look at this. Crazy. But yeah, it's again, they know their customer.
Absolutely. And so product wise, it's interesting because I think Gymshark have such a kind of command over their cult, right? Without making that sound too scary. They have this big international group of customers. They're not customers, they're fans. And you see this with Onyx, and it's not gone away. It's growing everywhere. You see it when they haven't got a store, but they do one of their kind of lifting events. People are queuing. You saw it with the New York pop-up. They've got an outlet store at Bicester Village in the UK, and it's just been like absolutely smashing all targets, bringing new people to that space. I mean, this is an extraordinary brand. So I'll say one thing, slightly controversial. I think their product could be better. I think fans love their product so much. I think they could dig even deeper, charge more, and I think they charged more for the thing they did at Selfridges.
That's what I was gonna say. They have more of a premiumized line in Selfridges. It goes with the.
I'll bet it was less. People were no less crazy for it, right? So all I would say, just with my kind of product, fashion, sustainability hat on, I'm really interested in all that stuff. I think, do you know what? They've got an opportunity here. Gymshark aren't H&M. They're not kind of trapped in this thing where they've got to maintain really cheap prices because that's how they've been known for decades. This is a community first brand. The community was there first, really. So I think they could make even better product, charge a bit more. I think this is the kind of brand that could probably make higher margins and produce less stuff. They could do that kind of really fascinating post-growth stuff that anyone in the sustainability world says is the kind of holy grail for a better planet retail-wise. Gymshark could actually do that. Not all brands can do it as easily. Gymshark could. People love. I mean, look at this. They could. And I'm not saying that the product. I don't know quite enough about the product, but I think broadly speaking, this is reasonably. It's okay quality gym wear. It's not premium gym wear necessarily, but actually, this is a premium brand. This is a brand that everyone loves. So yeah, that would be my only thing. I just think they should just be really pushing all that stuff, making it as good a quality as it can be, and charge more for it.
Yeah, and I guess for this particular line, I guess it makes you look like more muscly or more flattering for a man working out. Is that's what it seems like? So that's why people are like ripping it off the shelf.
I don't think it would have any impact on me. I think I would look the same. It would just show my slimness even more dramatically. But yeah, it does exactly, and it was quite a bold bit of kit, this, because it's really it's for people who really want to show off their builds and whatever. So very innovative, but yeah, I think
no. These things are like left over from.
I love that. Do you know what? I would go 7 anyway. I'd go 7.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy with that.
All right. Now it's probably gonna give me leftover. Okay. Now I know what I need to do to reset it. Okay. For their product, I would give it an 8. I think again, because they're so targeted with what they're creating. So
Yeah.
for now, I guess while I'm putting the scores in, think about like what your comments are for on while I put these scores in.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Go ahead.
Oh, oh, I see. Before it comes, sorry, Sandy. You can do again.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the problem with the mouse. I'm learning as well. So on, I think. Look, I think the straightforward answer is On's success, On's rapid growth was purely about products. They innovated in a category. They came into a category dominated by, you know, the giants like Nike in terms of running shoes and others, and along with Hoka and various other brands, they've really taken some market shares from some really established brands. And I think that's because of the product, because of the branding around the product, their storytelling around the product, the tone, the consistency, the whole kind of look and feel, even just the soul, the way their soles are made and the story behind it is, it's a bit of a Nike Air Max thing, the air bubble thing, or Reebok
Yeah.
pump. It's that thing like is really wedged in the consumer kind of ether. And they're so good at it, and they merchandise it really well, and a lot of their online content I think is outstanding around it. So it's a product-led brand, and they're really, really good at the product. They're really good
Yeah.
at merchandising the product, designing it, branding it. I run, but I'm no like elite level runner, so I can't speak to whether it really is dramatically better than all the other running brands. But in terms of the look and feel, branding, merchandising it, I think it's great.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, you can tell this is all from, what they like socials and from their website, just going into the detail of like how they made the fabrics they use, the methodologies, that that it is going to be a well-made running shoe and designed
Yeah,
for purpose, and that elite runners use their shoes, right? So I think the product definitely it communicates that, and just the customer feedback is that as well, that it is high quality
absolutely.
for its purpose, and they are expanding into other things, but this is what kind of also in the store is what you mentioned, very little you know options for
Yeah.
apparel.
But
And
it's a
then yeah,
classic. This is a classic sort of device of a product-led brand. You have really plain, kind of slick sort of steel is, the sort of classic way of doing this. You just have the metallic kind of backing, and then it's all about the product. And it does work. It always did work, right? If you've got a product-led brand, so your focus is and only could be on the product and the name of the product. Um, so it it works, especially when you've seen all the stuff you just showed
yeah,
online, which of course most on fans will. They've already have this feeling of how special these products are, and then bam, it's right there. They don't need to do anything else.
yeah. Okay, so what would you? Let me go now to our scoring. Let's try this again. Okay.
Yeah, product wise, I'd go 9.
Yeah, I was gonna say 9 as well, and I'm not copying. That's what I really thought.
No, no, it's a 9 product.
Yeah, definitely. I'm never gonna give something a 10. It's really gonna be rare. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it should be.
okay, so we're almost at the top of the hour. We are at the top of the hour, so I don't know if you have to run or we can just
No, no, no. We
do
can
one more.
we must finish.
Okay.
It's important.
Yeah, sorry people that if you're watching, that it ran a little bit over, but we'll continue. So the next categories are customer service and support. So we'll quickly touch on that. See the employees, but also if they provide any additional services to help you in your either fitness running journey. I
Yeah.
think Gymshark definitely does. Obviously, they have, and you can
Yeah.
talk a bit more about this because you seem to be aware. I don't know if you've tried it or not. The
Yeah.
one-to-one shopping.
From lots of different scenarios, right? So a few things. Obviously, I run store tours, and when I've brought groups here, they're one of the few brands that aren't just happy about that. They are like ecstatic about it, and someone will come and be like, "Oh, amazing! We would love to tell everyone about this." And that could be their biggest competitor, right? They'd do the same thing if it was Nike walking around the store. Love that spirit. That's the first thing. Second thing is, the free classes, the fact they have really elite instructors and they do these classes for free. The staff, if you just talk to them on the shop floor, are so passionate. They're all massive fans of the brand. I mean, this is the thing. Gymshark is still small enough that they're not recruiting at massive scale. They can still just recruit people who love Gymshark, right? They've got that amazing moment in their business where that's what they can do. So look, because of that, the staff are amazing because they know the product inside out. It's the classic thing, right? Hire people who love your brand. You can teach sales and you can teach how to work your POS and all that stuff later. Like that, don't worry about that. The most important thing is get someone in who loves the brand, and the gym staff love the brand. They're outstanding. So yeah, I have not much else to say about it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that they have that. It's incredible. Like literally free classes.
It's wild.
I think it's like 30 or so a week or something crazy. And you can just, scan that code. I think it's an Eventbrite page. When they first started out, they still do have an app, but now they're, I guess, pushing it more to the Eventbrite page to sign up for the classes. Obviously, you're getting customer data as well when people sign up for the classes. And it's just, again, supporting people on their fitness journey and making it easy and less intimidating because you now have somewhere to try out something fitness related in, I don't know how convenient it is for many people in the middle of on Regent Street, but it's still like an incredible space that they're doing that. And I think they also have other types of, we'll talk about that in the community, but other types of events and things to support people, not just in fitness, but fitness related things. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that, again, it's so in line with their messaging, like this need a spot, which again is like, lifting language. And it's all like tongue in cheek and consistent with their, their brand. So, I think I may have one. Okay. So now what do you rate the customer service? Did you talk to anyone when you were there? Or I guess you already.
Yeah, I did. I was going to go 9, so that's
okay.
Good. This is amazing. You're just reading my mind.
I'm going to say 9 as well.
Great. That's good.
Because I think it's really good.
Yep.
So what do you think now? Let's see. Did you try anything in On?
In On, I did. So I was like in On. I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna consider myself a newbie. Go in there and try and get them to help me navigate the store. The person I spoke to eventually was quite helpful, but it took me quite a while to get their attention. And it was by far, not the worst customer service I've had. I mean, as we know, it's a real challenge in retail and hospitality. So it's pretty good. The person that I spoke to helped me navigate quite well, find what I was looking for, and were fairly enthusiastic. But, I went there after I'd been to Gymshark. And, that's the thing. It's when you've just had customer service from someone that is like obsessed with the brand and knows everything about it and is so into it and kind of wants you to get as into it, it's hard to, that really sets the bar high, right? And On just wasn't quite the same as Gymshark. It was good, but it wasn't exceptional. Yeah,
and I'm just showing you like what it was like going on to the first floor, as you would say, or second floor for me, where the shoes are and like things that I was actually curious about the shoes themselves because I was potentially wanting to try On because I don't have any On shoes, and I was in the market for another pair of trainers. And the person I spoke to, it was like very busy like this, and it seemed not interested in helping me or asking me any probing questions. And she just said, my advice is just to try them all on. I'm like, look at how many shoes there are. I mean, it wasn't helpful. So there were no like questions to kind of diagnose what I'm looking for, to then be able to recommend, here are 3. They're like so many different, I'm just showing like all of these On shoes, like different cloud names. There was no way I'm going to try on all these shoes. So that wasn't very helpful. So unfortunately, maybe it's a one-off thing with that employee, but that's what happens when you're a customer. A customer doesn't go out and do multiple tests at different times a day and talking to different types of customers. You have to always have that interaction be top notch and treat every customer like they're a customer or every person.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I'll be honest, this is a flagship. So if it's, you know, if you're going to do it somewhere, do it here. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. But the product looks great.
It does.
Yeah. But yes, so how would you rate the customer service and support?
I'm going to go 7 because it wasn't terrible for me.
Okay. I'm probably going to do a 6.
Brutal.
Unfortunately.
That's savage takedown.
I know.
Of On's customer service.
Unfortunately. Sorry, On.
No, I think they'll be fine.
I think they'll survive without my
They're going to survive
10.
this.
So I think just quickly, is there anything you want to highlight in technology for?
Yeah. So value of tech in Gymshark, I'll be quick on this one, but does what it needs to do, I think. The tech in the personal shopping room, which I've seen before, is very good. Simple, but allows you to navigate on a big screen, anything that's kind of in store, customize your experience through it. Simple, but very well done. They are, you know, it's a big subject in the technology world. They're still on Shopify. And do you know what? As yet, there's no signs that they've, you know, so outgrown it that Shopify isn't keeping up. I never go in there and see, you know, vast queues or things going wrong. They have, you know, mobile point of sale in there, which works really well from what I've seen. They have a big checkout area upstairs that I think might have been moved. But for me, yeah, the tech does what it needs to do. You know, there are lots of screens in store, but mostly they're there for good reason. They can show different campaigns on them or show what events are going on. But they don't overdo the tech. It doesn't massively get in the way. So I think there's nothing wildly innovative in there, but the tech does what it needs to do.
Yeah, and I think I did have this one little area to call out here, which is kind of like, well, I mean, just in terms of like omni-channel integration, that they do have this one, you know, whole space for click and collect and which is
yes, and it's really
helpful.
I mean, it's not really a tech thing, but I always think this area is very well signposted, right? You see it, and it's really, and it's always it's done in a really kind of clean way.
Yeah, and as you mentioned too, it's kind of the screens that are there. Because I'm a big thing of like having a purpose for the tech, whether it's like solving a problem or serving a need for the customer. So that it's kind of just there to show inspirational images and videos of like people using the product, and also as a backdrop for their, you know, to enhance the ambiance, which I think is a good use of tech. All right, so what would you rate it?
I'm going to go. Do you know, I'm going to go 8 because it's actually used well. There's nothing horribly out of place. There's nothing there that's sort of, you know, superfluous.
Yeah, I'm going to go like 7. It's like just okay. It's nothing like novel or too crazy, but also not horrible. All right. So moving on to, and we're almost through the scorecard. And I appreciate you staying on. So we'll actually close with, because we already talked a bit about storytelling, but just close with like I think a great category for both, but it's community and culture. So especially in sports and, you know, running and, you know, kind of these well, the business that they're in, nurturing this cult like community is a core part of their brand. So in Gymshark sense, obviously it's starting off with initiated by Ben Francis, but these cults of, you know, have become a life of their own, the communities wherever they pop up, even in places where they don't have flagships. They do pop-ups, like here was the one in New York, kind of testing and testing the waters before and starting to build a community there before they launched their flagship. They had another pop up over the weekend recently for the marathon, and not necessarily, maybe not the marathon, but for some like fitness events in London recently.
Yeah.
The Onyx launch, all the classes. It's just such a good example of community building, and
Yes.
just how much they've done. Like this is like on the left is kind of one of their biggest like lift events, and all these people come crowds and crowds just to see people, break records and exercise. And so it's amazing.
Yeah.
And the energy you could tell like from this. I think this might be I'm not sure if it's in Miami or New York, that one on the left, but they go into these cities and attract all of like thousands and thousands of people, which all in the name of fitness and connecting together. So I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I've been banging on about this throughout this session already. Gymshark are a community first brand. They did community online before they even opened stores. So they created the framework to do it in a way that I've very rarely seen big brands do. There's loads of small brands all around the world that do community incredibly well, independence and all sorts. But a brand with bigger ambitions doing community at this scale is pretty rare. Gymshark do it better than anyone. And they do it in the store, they do it everywhere. The challenge is as they scale, can they keep doing it to the same extent? That's the key thing. And they don't kind of become too commercial, too commoditized. That's the challenge. But at the moment, they get the balance right. And the community aspect to what they do is outstanding.
Yeah. And I just realized we didn't rate on for tech, which is fine. We'll go back to that.
I didn't use any. Yeah.
Let's finish let's finish this rating of community and culture for Gymshark. I think so. What would you? I'm
gonna go 9, just in the spirit of like nothing can ever get a 10. But 9, yeah.
See, I have that ethos as well and philosophy of not giving 10s. I would give it a 9.5, but I'm just gonna round up and give it. I am gonna give it a 10.
Incredible.
Because it's 9.5. So.
Yeah.
So while I'm putting in those scores, like what would you think about like your in the on store?
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to on running,
for tech, yeah. For tech, and then tech, and then we'll close out community and culture. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. On running for tech, I barely used any tech or saw any tech in there in terms of, look, it's not like a massively, high. There's not just like massive queues of people selling. So checkout wise does what it needs to do. There's nothing remarkable about the way that process works, or other tech in the store. I barely saw any. The one bit of tech really is the big robot thing. I think On often have a kind of tech-ish, robotic-ish stunt in their stores. I've seen them in a few different places. Seen them use screens in interesting ways. Don't mind it. I think it probably fits with this technical aspect of their brands and the sort of person that shops with them. But I'm personally not into that. I find things like that slightly cold and unnecessary. But I don't want to mark them down too much for that, because actually, that's their vibe. Mm-hmm. And tech and robots create an atmosphere of technicality and efficiency, which fits well with their products and their, super slick Swiss brand.
Swiss engineering.
So, yeah, I get it. So it does the job in that respect. So actually, pretty good.
Yeah, because that's how I would view tech. The value of tech in their story and brand is the product technology. So viewing that as something you invest in versus, let's say, something digital. So I think they do a lot of investment to make sure that the product is high quality, but also like it's been tested so much. You see it with the robotics, everything. So I think that supports their brand and mission. All right. So what would you
So I'll go.
rate?
I'm gonna go for 7.
Okay. Um, I'll probably say, because I think it's so, I'm gonna say an 8 for them, just because, oh, the 10 is there too. Yeah, so I would say that, just given that it's such a core part of who they are. So lastly, with is community and culture for them,
Yes.
for On.
So, community and culture for On. Again, I think it would be easy to think, in comparison with Gymshark, that it's nothing like as strong, but that would be unfair because there is still very much a strong community of people all around the world that think On running sneakers are incredible. They do a running club at that store and in other places. It isn't as big or necessarily as successful as all running clubs, but I think they do really try to do stuff like that. And there is a community there. That word community can be a bit, kind of loose and vague sometimes because maybe it doesn't quite have a stronger emotion attached to it as maybe the Gymshark community, and certainly not other communities outside of retail. But the community's there. People love On. People love. I just suppose, again, going back to the beginning, it's a product-led community.
Yeah.
Product was the thing. I don't think product was the thing for Gymshark. It was people, and I think a community that begins from people is always going to be a bit stronger and will have more emotional ties than one that began with product. That's not criticism of On, it's just a fact. There just is more emotion and a bit more energy, a bit more blood, sweat, and tears attached to Gymshark than On. So it's a community, but it's not, for me, quite as strong. And that also shows in the store. You just can't connect with people in the On running store in the way you can with Gymshark. But that's not to understate the incredible job they've done in building that global community of people who love their shoes.
Yeah, I would say that they do have, well, I think because they, as you said, they are product led, and they start with, I guess, building community in the sense of their athletes, because they have, and support and design for those athletes, and then like kind of it will trickle down to the rest of customers seeing, and kind of more aspirational, I would say. And then they do, as you said, have events, but I don't think they do obviously as many events as Gymshark does, which is fine, but it's kind of secondary, I would say. Again, moving more towards viewing the community through the collaborations and people who they position as their ambassadors. And the other thing is they have, again, similar to Gymshark, building community in cities through like events. So when the New York City Marathon happened last year, they had, they'll pop up with their light spray, and then the light spray shoe was also in like the Olympics. So it's kind of like around these tentpole events, to build community that way. So it's just a different strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So last score.
I'm still going to give it 8 because ultimately On still did build an incredible community. Just because it isn't good as Gymshark's or isn't as strong or maybe emotive doesn't mean it's not an impressive feat or something that still exists. So I'm still going to give it 8.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that as well, because they do, for the people that have the shoe, they love the shoe. I mean, they're like, so, and
there'll be people like,
yeah,
someone will watch this video at some point in the future and hear what I've been saying about On, and they're going to be very angry. They're going to send me some furious stuff. People are passionate about this brand, right? And that's not to be sniffed at.
All right, I'm going to do my quick. Oh. It looks
What's happening?
It looks like, well, maybe because of the decimal, but it looks like, The verdict is in.
Okay, let's do it.
And I'll have to double check this after because I did this really quickly, and who knows if the math is correct. But
Yeah, totally.
these are the two. This is this. Oh, get rid of these. So it looks like Gymshark is a winner, and
Gymshark wins.
and and on.
Oh, they both won.
They seem to have come out like in a tie. It's like averaging 8, but
Oh.
maybe it might be a decimal thing. I will.
Yes.
I'll recalibrate when I'm not like multitasking on 10 different screens and things to confirm.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it looks like it was very close. I think some of the product based scoring was higher
Yes.
for On and then Gymshark.
Yeah, I had a feeling
Yeah.
that Gymshark had won
Me
by a
too.
narrow margin. So, but yeah, put it to the official.
I'll do official
regulators.
decimal, and I'll do an addendum
Yeah.
to this verdict.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but thank you so much, and thank you for staying on a little bit longer. I'll investigate
No,
what
not
happened
at all.
with the tech.
Hopefully, and hopefully you're able to chop something together.
Yeah.
That, because but the most important thing is, A, we've got a winner. B, you've got the first store was out of the way, but C, this has been, like I said earlier, you needed a mouse, a rat, you needed a rodent
Yeah.
to come on, put them in a cage,
With a puppet here, with Elmo.
and pump them full of some weird new vaccine that everyone's terrified of, and see what happens. And do you know what? It's fine. It's ready to go. You can get the medicine out there.
Yes, and before we go, like, is there anything you want to direct people to? I know you write this amazing newsletter. Is that
Yeah, I don't.
what you want to point people to?
Yeah, I can't even remember what it is,
follow
but,
you after?
Find me on LinkedIn. We do a Substack. You can read stuff on there. Yeah, and I've got some store tours that people are allowed to come on at different places. So just find me on LinkedIn, and I'm always blabbering on about something. So yeah, find me on there. More importantly, follow Sandy and watch more of these, because this is an incredibly produced thing, Sandy. So well done.
Thank
I've
you
helped
for
you iron out
being
the
the first
glitches.
guest. And also,
Yeah.
yes, so sorry for all the tech glitches. We'll get it sorted for the next time around. All the numbers turning up randomly. And then I'll figure out what happened with LinkedIn, but at least it worked on YouTube, it sounds like.
Yeah,
But yeah,
totally.
but thank
Yeah.
you so much, Jack, for being the very first guest. The next scheduled show we're gonna be doing an Iconic Street with Ian Johnston on June 10th, and also be creating other shows in the interim that are not going to be live, but I'll start to post that on the channel to do more Star Wars episodes with less
Amazing.
glitches.
Thanks, Sandy. And I will. I'll talk to you soon, and I'll probably see you out there on the road again
Yes.
soon. Take care, and
All
thanks for
right.
having me.
Thank you. I have to figure out how to end this.